Welcome, welcome to Pretty Lies and Ugly Truths, where you can either die with the lie or
will set you free.
And I am the Alex E. Miller, and that voice of reason that you just heard was
Toya Vegan Mamiana.
okay. And as we always do on Pretty Lies and Ugly Truths, we allow the guests to introduce themselves. So treat it like the first day of school, first day on the job. Even you let us know what we don't know, what we need to know, what we should already know.
Oh man. So Tuck Taylor, owner of the Beast Compound in Clearwater, Florida, which is one of the United States' only gym where you come in and work out your body and work out your mind. I'm also author of a book called Beast Thinking, co-author of a book called Beast Thinking. The Beast is acronym for Brain Engineering for Athletes, Students, and Teachers. The book's main mission is to help educate, empower, and engineer the minds of young athletes, young students, teachers, to help them be successful people. There's a game plan out there now. So we're kind of laying out the foundation of that game plan to engineer your brain to be successful. Nice. I'm also Theodore Taylor's father. I have a 2-year-old son named Teddy, Theodore Taylor. So I'm a dad as well. I think that's important to put in the introduction, just because being a father is something that we should, a lot of guys should be proud of, and that other people should know about them as well. It's like, you're a dad. What does that look like? What are your responsibilities? I don't know. I'm just team dad now, man. Since being a father, I like to see other dads out there really doing their thing and kind of changing the narrative as far as African-American dads as well, that might even be in a co-parenting situation. Like, do your job as being a father, but also being willing to show that and motivate others that might be in that same situation.
Right.
But yeah.
It seems like something on your social media that you take pride in.
100%, man.
And that's very admirable, to see someone taking pride in stepping up to the challenge of fatherhood, and the challenges every generation is different.
Absolutely.
With you raising a child in this generation who is biracial, how will you address him growing up in a world where you have, a percentage of white America who may say the racial, equality gap, is not as bad as it is. And then you have a percentage of Black America who says it's not as good as it is. Like, how would you address that, with him, for him to have an understanding?
What a tough first question, man. You're coming out the blocks, bro.
My apologies.
Man, I thought you was gonna ease me into this thing, man. It's funny you asked that. Those of you that's kind of seen what my son looks like, he's gonna be probably a little bit maybe towards the darker side. So on first impression, it's gonna look like an African American. That's what I mean by that. And so based off of like breaking generational curses and really thinking this whole thing through, because this is a question I've thought about heavily, is the one thing I don't want to do is create the narrative of what it's going to look like for his generation. And I think that's something that my parents, of course, out of love and, also a little bit of fear, like, started me early. I mean, as early as like 5 or 6, like telling me kind of what this world looked like for an African American, right. Like some of the injustices that you're going to face. This is just the way it is, preparing me in hopes of so that I can survive, right? But I feel like in that process, they passed on a lot of fear and experiences from their generation. And their generation had a lot rougher, right? Of course, like you saw it, you see people hanging from trees and getting blasted by fire hoses, and it was a lot crazier back then with that. But I felt like they passed on that fear and that paranoia. And I think I was talking to somebody else. Black men in America are traumatized 3 times with this whole social injustice. The first is through your parents already creating that narrative of what the world's going to look like. Second, once it actually happens to you. And third, once you see it on TV. Because now that's you happening again. You're getting traumatized 3 times. Right. And I want to break that cycle for my son by not giving him that first level of trauma. I don't want to traumatize him and be like, hey man, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to get treated differently here and here and here and here and here, and kind of pre-paving the way he's going to see the world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's, to me, that's traumatizing him.
Gotcha.
Like his world might look a lot better than mine. His experience might be a lot better than my experience, but why prepave a experience that might completely different? Knowing that how active, especially right now in this times, people are working towards a better day.
Well, what question?
To me, that negates their work.
Right.
You know?
That being said, and I just want to real quick, like, you don't want to like put that already in his mind and take that first step away. How do you two at the same time find a balance of preparing for the world? Because even if you don't put that image in, it's still the world is going to.
Great question. A great question. So instead of, to me, making it about race, just making it about injustice, period. Yeah. Like this is how you face adversity. This is how, when adversity is in front of you, son, this is how we go about it. But not making it so specific, saying that, you know, it's going to be, because he's going to have other injustices. There's other injustices besides social injustice.
I wasn't even thinking race. I was like, how are you going to just prepare him for adversity?
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just, you know, the great thing about sports is that I think that's a big lesson that they teach, you know, so definitely having my son in sports. And I really want him, now that I work with some MMA fighters, I really want him to wrestle. Because wrestling, from a mental standpoint, teaches you how to deal with all type of situations and how to remain calm. Okay. Like when you're getting choked out, you can't get super nervous or anxious because you got about 90 seconds until you're out. So you have to be able to start to control your own physiology during that time, even though you're facing injustice, and then figure out a way out. And so like, I really want him to do that, and it teaches you how to regulate your emotions and how to just navigate a intense situation. Yeah.
That's deep. That's deep. I never looked at wrestling that way, but now that you broke it down, you know, that sounds like a great pitch. I feel like a lot of high school wrestling coaches should probably bring you in for you to talk to, you know, some of the people.
I think we all should be doing something as a practice to help us with that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If not, life becomes the practice. And I want to be able to have the skill set to face life and not use life as my practice. I rather have a practice for that. So when life does throw me those things, I know how to navigate.
That's deep. Not to use life as practice. That's
that makes sense.
Right. Like life is game time. I would already have the skills and done practice already so I can perform well in the game.
Nice. Right.
So, when you introduce yourself, you said that you are the owner of the Beast Compound. So when you meet people out and about and you tell them that you own Beast Compound, I'm sure a lot of people look at you with a screw face like, what is a compound? Because it's like, okay, I've heard of a gym, you know what I'm saying, but I ain't never heard of a compound. So how do you break that down and simplify that to somebody, you know, when you're just in passing, maybe at like a gas station or just out and about, you know?
And so it's really called, like, it's a kind of a play on words, because a compound is like a building that has a lot of different things in it. Like, you know, it's a structure. Okay. All right, you have the compound. But really what the compound really means in Beast Compound is that we're compounding mental training and physical training. And when you compound the both of them, that's how you get results, performance results. Because you know my path a little bit, you know, working with a lot of athletes and seeing that just training the physical body alone doesn't guarantee that they're going to go into the game and play well. They're physically equipped to be able to play well, but when you get into the game, it's all about decision making. It's all about emotional regulation. It's all about your capacity to hold in a lot of information. And so getting them ready physically helps them ready to withstand some of that. But we were missing a complete different part that's going to help with their total performance, which was the mental part. And so that's why we started integrating meditation into our practice. And then up till now, where we have a whole cognitive conditioning practice within the gym too. So that's why I said we're one of the only gyms that offers a way to train an athlete's body, but also train their brain so that they are wired to win now. Not just able to go out and do what they're doing, but now they're wired to win.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you broke that down.
Yeah.
It makes it seem like it's so much more. It almost feel like if somebody was to refer to what you do as a gym, in a sense,
Right.
it's almost like undermining it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like borderline degrading compared to what you're able to do for people. Because I can't say that I feel like if somebody just goes to any gym, they're going to get what you just explained there. So
Right.
you took it to the next level. Is that something that you felt like you needed to do from seeing where the industry was going? You know what I'm saying? Or is it something that you had always knew you wanted to do, was to take it from just a gym to taking it to expounding and turning it into a compound? I don't know if it was by design or if it was by you just having to adapt.
It's kind of what evolved over time. Like again, with my beginning goal being to empower people and help people, from the athletic standpoint, it's like I was helping them, but not as much as I could. So developing the skill set to be able to help them out mentally, I feel like now I'm getting the better return on my investment with my time with my athletes, because they have both. Now I have athletes that are actually going out and performing well, which is what I want to happen at the end of the day. Like I would feel a certain way when we train a kid, we get his vertical up 8-9 inches, like when posting all the results. I'm all about posting the results of our programs. But then he goes in the game and he's horrible. Like I put my name and my brand on the back of this kid, and now and which makes me look bad, right?
Right.
But if like he's playing well and he gets the open break and he goes up and dunks, and he wasn't dunking last year, and now I look really good and the business looks really good. Sure. So my thing is like my thing was like, all right, how can I help these kids actually in the game perform a lot better? Be able to display all the hard work that they actually been putting in behind the scenes, so people can actually see how good they are. And some kids, to me, it was a crime to see how hard they worked in the weight room, how hard they trained their skill, but still at game, they were still getting robbed of like people really seeing that amount of work that they put in, because they didn't have the performance aspect on the mental aspect that was missing. I felt bad for those kids. And their parents are investing money in me and in their skills coaches, and they're not really like seeing their kid perform better. Right. Like yes, he looks stronger. Yeah. Yes, in a practice setting, his ball handling looks really good, but in the game, still kind of laying an egg. So I wanted to bridge that gap, to be able to not only enhance their bodies, but enhance their minds, so that we can put them out in that battlefield and they're able to survive and thrive.
Right. Wow. I'm curious, what motivated you? Where did you start with before all of this? How did you get here with that?
Great question. Former athlete, so I played at the Division II level at University of West Florida. Go Argos. Played basketball. College was definitely like an eye opener. Had to mature a lot, but started really, for the first time, being away from home, start to skim the surface of like discovering who I was as a person. Right. And through adversity that sports gives you, and life gives you, and college gives you, came out a little bit more awakened towards like my purpose, and was actively seeking like the answers of life. And so after I graduated college, I moved to California for a little bit in San Diego. I was working at a camp designed for overweight kids. So I was like a counselor at a fat camp. Okay. And that just seeing and being around that energy and doing the job that we did with those kids, like each one of our kids lost over like 40 pounds and walked in with no swag, left a little swag, like all that good stuff. Seeing that made me like obsessed with like transforming people. Okay. And helping them start from this to this, with this low vibration to this higher vibration. Okay. To a mindset where they didn't think they can achieve nothing that was very fixed, to a growth mindset where they can continue to be able to, take on the challenges of the world and become a better person. Mm-hmm. So that's why I became kind of obsessed with transformation. And then tried the whole basketball thing, professional thing, just the cards weren't laying in the right spots for me. So I hit the switch quick. I was like, all right, what are you going to do? I got my bachelor's in exercise science. I love to train. So I was like, all right, open a gym, do that whole thing. So I worked independently as a trainer for a while. And then as I became more clear on my purpose, started to attract the right people and circumstances to allow me to open my own facility. Okay. And then, yeah, so I've had the business since 2008. We're like year 9 in this actual building that we're in. Oh, so yeah, it's been a journey. But then, like I said, the evolution came through working with people, and we started mostly on the non-athletic side, more geared towards like weight loss. Right. And as I discovered more things about the mind, I would employ those things with my clients, and then we started getting a lot of head-turning results.
I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Work outside of just athletes. So you did start.
Yes.
For that. Okay. All right.
Yes. And I still have a couple of clients that are non-athletes now. Okay. Yeah, because it's like I still have to like get my fix of helping people, just people, period.
Yeah. I think you are naturally that, and that's just how you gravitated towards everything, for sure.
Right. Right. And in the business, the business teaches you a lot about yourself when you decide to go in business for yourself. And one of the things I noticed was that like the better that I took care of myself and my mind and my harmonizing the relationships outside of the business, the better the business ran. Right. But when I started to neglect things is when, you'll have some of your lows. And so it's been a thing where it's like, you gotta take care of you. You gotta make sure you're doing those 5 or 6 core things every day to keep yourself full so that you can be the best you when you step in here.
So with that being said, I'm just curious, you obviously have to put so much energy into this.
Right.
Where does that leave your love life? How do you take care of that?
Man, y'all asking some deep questions. I was not prepared for this, man.
It's no preparation.
Man.
It's pretty lies and ugly truths.
Lord. Is you. It's just something natural that what you feel, what you go through. This is not.
Oh, we're talking about who's better, right? LeBron or Jordan? No, was that the question? Was that the question? Yeah. So
the answer to that question was Kobe. That was the answer to that question. But Toya, what was it that you just asked him? If you wouldn't mind repeating that question for us.
I know he knows, but I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, I'm just curious on how, because you're like, you definitely have to take care of yourself first. That's how the business goes well. And how do you incorporate your love life with all that? You look stressed out.
So no, definitely you have to, it's a learning experience. So through understanding yourself better throughout the process, understanding what like your emotional resources are, the things that like you need from a partner, like really understanding that. I think as I've matured as a business person, my love life and those relationships have gotten better because I'm a better communicator now. I'm a better, like, just all that, because I have different ties with people because I'm not with my son's mother. So I have to make sure that's harmonized over there, and then harmonizing, any other situation I might be in during that time too. Right. And, I've had times where it's dry spells, where it's like I'm locked into the business, not even looking, not even going to like do it. And then sometimes I'm more open to it. But I think the big thing is, again, understanding yourself and understanding what you need. Because sometimes I'm full without being in a relationship because maybe my core friend group, we're really popping right now. Like we're really motivating each other and getting each other to the next level. But then sometimes it's like, man, like I need that affection from an actual partner. And so, I try to attract that. But with all of it being said, it's to balance life, business, family, your spirituality. It's just knowing what you need so that you can harmonize all those areas.
Starts with self, for sure.
100%. 100%.
You have to prepare yourself for your business to run good. So I know that that all has to connect. That's everything.
Right. Yeah. And that's when you start to move into those states of flow and creativity and just major growth because you've done your due diligence in harmonizing all of the relationships that you're with everybody outside of the business?
I find it too, just with myself, just growing into learning how to love myself.
Yes.
You do run into pools where you do get in a mode where I love myself. I don't have to do anything for anybody right now. Right. I don't have to give you me right now because I want to do this. So I ran into that where like I love myself so much, I do get kind of like selfish. And,
right.
And I'll put it when I want to put it somewhere else. And I kind of heard you say that like sometimes you'll have your time spells and
and you know what though? I feel like just vibrationally where the world is now, we're moving towards more service to others. We're moving towards empathy and compassion. I say that to say this is that for me, understanding like the love that I have to give, the fact that if I'm withholding to it means mentally I'm in a place where I think love is a scarcity. So if I can't take the extra time to like one of the homies' posts or tell my mom I like her shoes or slide through my parents' house and do some dishes, like if I have that to give and I'm not giving it, that means mentally and subconsciously I think that there's not enough to give. I got to hold on to it. But to be able to operate where you're in the overflow is all about now giving because your cup is full, so now you're giving. And so for me, practicing being ready for the overflow, I got to start doing that now. I got to start, imagining that I have so much love to give that with each person, I'm seeing their inner light and also opportunity to impact each person I come into contact with, because that's the life that I'm going to be living. Is where I have to do that. But if I can't do that, you're not going to attract it. I'm not going to be the person that can attract that. People think like wealth and all that stuff is like a self thing, like a selfish thing. Like that's not wealth. Wealth, the feeling of wealth is knowing that you have a set of resources, whether it's time, money, energy, and you're putting it towards things that represent your core values or the people that you want to show love to. That's how you feel your wealth. That's why giving feels so good sometimes, because you're like, all right, I'm responsible kind of for this person's happiness, fulfillment at this moment.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, like, I don't want to rant there, but
no, you're good. You're good. No, that makes sense. You know what's funny is you hear people say that when it comes to satisfying somebody else sexually. Sometimes you hear people literally say they get off on someone else getting off, so to speak, because 100%. They feel like, hey, I'm actually providing something for somebody else. I'm the reason that they feel this feeling that they feel right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like when you have a partner, it's like, okay, I'm meeting them halfway, or I'm fighting to go even further than halfway because I want to do more than my part. I want to be able to make sure that you feel satisfied with what I have provided for you. So I know exactly where you're coming from with that.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
What is it? Break down the schedule for us, because everything that you do, it seems like a lot. It seems like something that takes a month to pull off, but you just broke down stuff that you do on a daily basis. So if you wouldn't mind, give it to us from the time that you wake up and the time you go to sleep, almost pinpoint the specific times and the task and how you're able to manage everything.
Well, that's an interesting question because this year has been crazy, right? Like there's no set nothing this year. Okay. So I had like a kind of a flow that I would do every day, but then, your business gets shut down for 8 weeks. Like you can't, you're not on any set schedule. So I think a better way to ask that, for me to answer that question is the first thing I've had to do this year as far as taking care of myself is just be flexible and kind of find gaps in places where I can get some fulfillment. So like, and understanding what those things are that fills my cup. So like for me, like I got to be out in sunlight for a little bit. So I got to just get outside for a little bit, get some sun. I got to make sure that I get my heart rate up at some point, making sure that I'm taking care of the physical body, putting clean things into my body. Like this is things I'm doing throughout the day. There's no set time. Like 8 o'clock I'm doing this, 9 o'clock I'm doing this, like, because everything's been crazy. So I haven't been able to get into like a set schedule, but like those are the things I do. Make sure I'm having an uplifting conversation once a day with someone. making sure that I'm trying to optimize my sleep as well, so that I can come in with a full cup every single day.
Wow.
So like those are the things that I strive. Like, do I do these things perfectly, every single day? No, but when I come in with low energy, I know exactly why. I can pinpoint why. It's like, oh, I didn't have an uplifting conversation yesterday, or oh, I didn't get a good workout in yesterday. Like, I understand why my energy is where it's at. So, and my goal every day is just to fit those in. Now, as things get back to normal, will I start to like try to put things in strict places? For sure. But for right now, I just try to understand what it is that I need to do to fill myself up on a day-to-day basis and get it done throughout the flow of the day.
What are those 5 or 6 things for you? Earlier you mentioned 5 or 6
sunlight,
things, 5 or 6 core things that were important to be able to do everything you do. What are those 5 or 6 things?
So definitely getting out in the sun, drinking enough water, staying hydrated.
How much?
Man, like I don't measure. Like I have a big like tank.
Oh wow, that looks like a gallon the way you're doing your hands.
Yeah, like probably gallons. Yeah.
That's huge.
Making sure I'm having uplifting conversations with everyone, striving to seek the divinity in everyone. That's a new one that I've added within like the past 8-9 weeks. What else is on there? Sunlight, sleep, yes. And just making sure that I am continually finding ways to optimize my sleep to make sure that the body's healing, the mind is healing.
How many hours?
For me, I try to get like 6, and then try to find a couple of gaps throughout the day to kind of like either do some meditation or just a full nap.
That's what's
so, yeah. So it's just making sure I get those things in, man. And it seems like when I'm deliberate about that, things look better for me. Mm-hmm. If I'm neglecting one of those, like I could feel it.
So seeking the divinity, break that down for us. When you, like, how did you word it as far as the divinity?
Just choosing to seek the divinity in everyone that I have in contact with. Yeah.
So simplify that for us, for someone who that's a big word you just used there, seeking the divinity. So for somebody that's watching and they just kind of want to get the most simplified breakdown of what that means, how would you explain that?
It's definitely from a spiritual place where that comes from. But understanding that everyone has the spirit of God in them, and some people are in the moment being able to show that on the outside, so they're in alignment. So what the spirit of God and what it wants the body to do, the body's doing. All right, at that point, understanding that, and there's some people that have that spirit that just aren't in alignment with it, so it may not, their divinity might not be showing in the outer world. But for me, to make my world a better place, it's better for me to, when I interact with someone, choose to like just, focus on the God in them, understand them from more of a spiritual level than just a surface level. Come from a place of like no ego and be able to like connect and have compassion for them. Right. And because in that way you see them, and it's crazy. Like, man, I forget what book I just read, but they were talking about the greatest revenge on your enemies, and it is seeking the divinity in them, because and you might have had this happen to you before. Is there'll be somebody that they'll have like a negative trait that just gets on your nerves, and if you got to see that person, you're already running the expectation of like, man, Clarence about to be smacking on that gum. It's gonna get on my nerves. I want to get in, get out. Because he chews his gum like a cow, all right? And guess what? You go in there and Clarence is just chomping away, getting on your nerves, because that's what you chose to seek out of Clarence, all right? Is that he does not know how to chew gum quietly, all right? But and that's one part of who Clarence is, right? But if you seek, man, Clarence, like, he's a hard worker and just a really good person, a really good family man. Like, I appreciate him and everything that he does. Now when you go in, yes, Clarence is still going to be chomping on that gum, but you're going to be not even aware of it because you're focused on a whole other part of who Clarence is.
Wow. Probably way
more. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you can literally make an enemy act out of their divinity when they're in your presence by seeking that and anticipating that first.
That's a bar. That's
100%. That's how you change. That's the greatest revenge, right? The greatest revenge isn't.
I needed that one. Thank you.
Yeah, like that's the greatest. And guess what? Because at the end of the day, too, I realize it's like me holding anger and animosity towards someone doesn't mess up their perceived reality. It messes up mine. I'm polluting my own lifestyle now by this negative energy. And so, like, why mess up my world?
Yeah, I remember you told me a long time ago, and I always revert back to this, and I tell other people this. You said, Alex, people are always doing the best that they can at the level of consciousness that they have, 100%. And that's something I never forget. You know, that statement. And anytime that I'm struggling with somebody, and I'm starting to feel that I can't seek the divinity, I go back to that and just realize, like, you know what? They're doing the best they can do. You know, I got to have compassion because I have my own shortcomings, which, you know, may make them just as frustrated and annoyed with me. So grateful for you being able to continue to spew that out into the universe in so many different ways. You know, now you can see Toya, she's benefiting from it as well.
Sorry.
Awesomeness.
Yeah. Would you say, with how well you are at this, is just simply speaking life into people, have you ever felt the tug to just step away from everything physical, or do you feel like because you're so attached to sports that you're always going to have one foot into that? You see a lot of music acts, they may dive into acting or dive into becoming an author, or even we're starting to see politics, but it seems like they never, no matter how much, you know, they make with everything else, music may be the least of their sources of income, but they can't step away from it 100% because their heart is there. Is that where you feel like your heart is in sports?
I'm attached to sports. Like, you know, if I'm looking at it from just keeping it 100, like I'm attached to sports. I'm attached to athletes, just because you know, coming from the athletic realm and just knowing the challenges that they face. You know, I've always wanted to kind of give back in that, and knowing the challenges that I face as an athlete, mentally and physically, just being able to kind of give that gift back to the next generation. So I always kind of had that connection, but obviously, you know me, like I've gotten into public speaking, I've, you know, written a book, co-authored a book. So there's other things that I see that are growing, and for me, it's, my challenge, I would say, is staying open to an infinite realm of opportunities and possibilities that I can, like, who I can be. Not staying attached to Tuck the trainer, but Tuck also the whatever else is out there for me to be. You know, because it's again, when you tap into your divinity, you realize that you've been trying to force, the ego's been trying to force a narrative on you and who you can be. But like your divinity gives you access to being whoever and whatever that it wants you to be.
Yeah.
And that's where the alignment comes in at. It's like all that. And like at our flesh level, we're stupid, bro. Like think about how stupid we are.
Yeah.
Like we can see something that we've never seen before and want it just because it's placed in front of us. So it's like, that's why I question sometimes Tuck. I was like, what does Tuck really want? Well, like Tuck is dumb.
Yeah.
Tuck might want this just because he saw this right now, but what does the divinity in Tuck really want? Because that's what we're here to accomplish on Earth, anyways.
Wow.
All of the stuff in the material realm can be a big distraction to like a more infinite purpose that we have here.
That's deep. That's deep. You speaking my language now.
But it's tough. But me at the flesh level, I still struggle with that. Like I grew up on, you know, hip hop music and like understanding the narrative that success looks like money, success looks like cars and clothes and houses and women. So like a big part of who I am still is like, man, like I still want them bands though. You know, I still, but then the divinity is like, oh, like, is that like exactly what I want you to do? Like, you know, like, I don't know. Like I sometimes I feel a greater calling that I try to ignore because I feel like I want them bands, you know?
I was gonna say that, like, what can you say specifically has your ego you felt forced you into?
The narrative of who I can be as a Black man.
Okay. Okay.
Like, when the narrative of who I am as a Black man. Like, I remember, and Alex, you might have had the same thing happen too. It was like, once you did something that wasn't considered in the box of Black, you're getting called white boy or blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, oh man, I have a role I have to play.
Oh, yeah.
And so then you start talking differently. You start listening to what's Black music. You start putting yourself in this box. You're like, all right, I'm gonna make it out either through military, sports, or I gotta sell dope.
Right.
You're giving yourself these three options, like, because you're a Black man. This is what is taught in the music that you're listening to. This is what is portrayed on the TV that you're watching and who you can be. This is who other people are kind of expecting you to be. So you got to play that role. So I don't remember what the question was or how I got on that topic, but like for me, that's all. When you learn about the ego, that's all ego though. The ego puts definitions and limitations on things. And so like shedding the ego is all about, again, listening to the divinity and being open to be who that tells you to be, not what you're seeing on TV or what other people are telling you to do.
Right.
Yeah. It's all out of ego. It's all out of flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, concepts, definitions, you see it a lot in politics. Well, a term I've heard recently is identity politics. When someone is attached to a particular title or a viewpoint of the way something is supposed to be, they've limited themselves from seeing it any further than it can be. And unfortunately, I think with our culture, and this happened even way back in, slavery days, you know what I'm saying? It's always been a thing where we felt like if somebody was any different than us, but they were us, it made us feel uncomfortable, as if like, they were trying to step away. It's like, where you going? So you're not one of us no more. You know what I'm saying? And
right,
it's like, no,
right.
it's like we all together. We can be different variations. We have been brainwashed into thinking that it's only one way that we can be. We've been brainwashed into thinking,
right.
Like when you say somebody talking Black or Black music, or talking, white or white music, me, with music, that's something that I recently have been so proud, that the music industry as a rapper, you won't have to worry about the term urban being used as much as it was before. Award shows are starting to change that to where they're not even using the word urban in certain awards or in departments at the labels, because people are like, okay, so this is another way to say Black. What does Black mean? I'm just a human being like you are. So why do I have to be labeled? You don't understand that there's so much of a nuance to a Black man, that you have already chopped me off at the knees. You've already narrowed my gap, thinking that I can't go any further based on your interpretation. And when we do that to ourselves, to me, that's like a self-hate thing,
100%.
whether we even realize that or not.
100%.
That's a self-hate thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I even remember getting made fun of because I made good grades in school. Like I would hide my report card from my friends because I wasn't ready for them to ride on me. Because like it was like cool, like to be Black. It was like cool to be dumb and cool to be like, I'm not even gonna try in school. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, we've made that our narrative. Like we like let's pull from the Asians and like have that be our stereotype that we're really good in school. Like I want that stereotype. You know what I'm saying? Like why did we choose that one for ourselves? We chose it for ourselves because we act out of it. You know what I'm saying? People are like, we didn't choose that. The narrative was painted. No, like when you act out of it, that's your choice now to be that.
Right.
But something I've learned though, people that young Black kids, right? That could, as you hear, and I used to get offended. I'm starting to not get offended as much when people tell me I speak well, because I feel like that's a backhanded way of saying, oh, okay, I thought you couldn't articulate yourself like that because you were Black.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. When I see people like us that are very articulate Black men, at certain points when we were younger, look at people who were not as articulate and feel like maybe we were more than. I even feel guilty about that, because when you understand systemic racism and understand like, redlining and things like that, not to get so political, when you look at what happens as far as like education, some people, they don't even have access to the same books that we might have had access to going to certain schools, you know what I'm saying? And when you realize that they have been, you know, handicapped at that level, it's like, man, it's like this is like a divide and conquer tactic that it almost seems like. And it's like, we have to take the initiative and know, like, no, there is no divide. You know, we are still one. We're still 100%. We're human just like everybody else. And, you know, it's just, you know, we don't know what the story's going to hold. Like you said, with your son, you know, you don't really want to instill too much of what you went through on him, because by the time he gets to our age, he might not even have to experience that. So why even embed that into his brain?
Right. Because that's like the same thing as passing down racism, like, or passing down anything. Like racism exists because it's passed down. Or like paranoia and fear and anger is something that can be passed down too.
Yeah.
You know, where he might not have to go through that.
Yeah.
But what Hov said, Hov did that. So hopefully you have
to go through that. Yeah. One of the most classic lines. Yeah.
I literally just said that yesterday.
Yes. That's one of the most classic rap lines ever. With everything that's going on with the pandemic, how does that affect you as far as your business? Because if you wouldn't mind, you know, before you get into present time, share some of the stories of the adversities that you went through starting a business and getting to where you were, and then let us know, you know, how you're dealing with what's going on right now.
I mean, my biggest thing is just like, my biggest theme has been like not knowing what I'm doing, just doing it, you know? So it's like, but.
So you were scared when you started Beast. So it seems like, Yeah, it was
just like, you just do it. And when you have that growth mindset, it's like, all right, I got to learn something new every day. I got to learn how to put in the system, or learn a new movement or whatever. It's just, you kind of got that ass on fire syndrome, where it's like, I got to do something every day to get better. I'm going to burn up, you know? And I think at certain points in my life, I like being in that position, because it forces you to get better every day. Like, it guarantees like that you're going to evolve and come out of it and grow kind of at more of an exponential rate, when you have to learn every day, in a position where you're forced to learn something new every day. So that's kind of been the growth, is just trying things out, learning, observing, you know, being honest with myself on things that I can do better on, keeping myself good. So that's kind of been the journey is just learning. Learning and like listening. And to me, listening is listening to source, God, your divinity, whatever else it is that you want to put into it, but having it navigate you as well. But present time pandemic era has been obviously the biggest challenge of my career as an entrepreneur. Wow. So I remember the weird thing that happened was like the first 2 weeks, because I didn't see this coming. Nor did a lot of people. Yeah. So like, you as a business owner, you do everything possible to kind of make sure your business is operating the way it should. But then, bam, you get hit with that. Like, I was taken aback a little bit. Like, my mental health was suffering. Like, I didn't know, like, there was so many questions about when we were going to reopen, and like, if we're going to reopen, like, what's going on. So I went from a place of panic. I got to a place from panic to peace by asking myself, okay, everything happens for a reason. All right, there's an answer out there of what you're supposed to be doing during this time. And number one was being a present father for my son. So I got to have my son a lot more. So, you know, he's going to be 2 in September, but like during pandemic time, he's making huge leaps on like what he's able to do as a human being. And it's like, if I'm working right now, I never see these things. So it's like starting to pick out like the blessings of the time we had. And time's an asset that a lot of people wish they could get back. So then, you know, number one was spending time with my son. Number two was, all right, what can I do to enhance like either like my physical body or what's something I can learn during this time? So I just started learning different things. I enrolled in some courses online, some free courses that some schools were offering, and taking some courses. Yeah. And just look, also thinking about when we do reopen, how can we reopen better than we were before? Because sometimes a lot of businesses and a lot of business owners will agree about this, is like sometimes you know what to do to make your business better, but you can't rock the boat that dramatic to get those things operating. Well, pandemic and the quarantine rocked the boat big time for me. So against a lot of some of my mentors' advice, I cut my whole business during the pandemic. Like I canceled every membership. I cut everything off. We started over new, but we were starting over. I had so much time to think about how to engineer the business better that we started out so much better. And we had like record-breaking first weeks when we were reopened and all that type of stuff because the business is more efficient. We were understanding like how we can truly impact our members a lot better, and the flow is just better during that time because we had that time to kind of like sit back and think about it and open back up a little bit more intelligently.
Yeah, 2 Chainz was saying that. I seen an interview yesterday. He was like, it's forcing him to create like the most extravagant music videos that he has ever created in his career. And he's like, hey, people be on the lookout for that, because he said, I'm in a position where, me being as rich as I am doesn't matter. I have to use what I have. And he says, if it wasn't for the pandemic, then there would be no reason for me to use everything that I have. I can go outside of it because I have access to everything because I'm already rich, So he's like, now I'm being creative like how I was when I first started rapping. And I was like, that's what's up. That's him seeking the divinity, as you say.
Seeking the divinity in everything, like even a pandemic, like there's good things that are going to come out of it.
For sure.
And I do believe like, I'm a 2 Chainz fan, but I do believe even other artists, other people that are trying to perfect their craft, it's going to be a renaissance of just like huge,
I can see that.
you know what I'm saying? Like there's gonna be a lot of creativity coming out of this.
Yeah.
It's gonna be when things start to normalize with the actual pandemic, we're gonna see a lot of things that we never would have seen had not people had so much time to themselves and out of the normal 9-to-5 grind to create things.
Sometimes it can be so beautiful how a shakeup can be. You know what I mean? Like to be shook up and sometimes things have to be broken all the way down anyways to rebuild it. So and I think we needed that as just humans, period. The world, like this is everybody. This did not leave anybody out. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's something going on where, I mean, this was, it was needed. And definitely I see that, like you said, I mean, it's a lot of creativity and people just really like, man, I got to make it count now.
Right. Right. You do though.
Of being a human, and everybody's just in a routine. Like, okay, those type of people get money. We type of people work. It's in so many different ways. It was like a routine, and it's like we're not made for that for real. So like, it's time to shake this up. Y'all gotta. I gotta. You know what I mean? Whoever our creator is, God, whoever. Everybody believes in something different, but we still have a creator. And this is not what we were here to do. So it's time to get woken up for that,
Absolutely. Like I've seen so many people like come out of this so much more spiritually in tune and spiritually stronger. Yeah. It's like what else could have caused that for them to get there, But like everything, that's why it's like, again, the ego wants to label things good or bad, but like we choose the definition. So like, why not label this as actually something good? And I know people are dying and things like that, but it's still just a great time to evolve spiritually and mentally during times like this. Like there's so much growth that happens out of this that we have to be grateful for, and knowing that everything that we're facing is happening for us, not to us.
Thank you.
Yeah. You spoke on listening and learning earlier. What does Tuck listen to and learn from? What is it when you're putting the headphones on? How are you watering your brain seeds right now? And how have you been watering your brain seeds to get to where you are today?
I mean, I have some go-tos that I, when I'm seeking knowledge and seeking a better connection, a better understanding, that I go to. One of them being it's a mystic from the 1930s, a guy named Neville Goddard. He has a lot of lectures online, but he was one of the first people to kind of bridge metaphysics and the Bible together. And so like I have a religious background and foundation because I grew up in the church. But so it speaks to me at a kind of an intimate level, because like a lot of the verses that I read previously, I have a deeper understanding for, because I understand metaphysics as well, or have a understanding of metaphysics. I don't completely understand metaphysics, but I have an understanding of what it is. And like, he just puts me in a place where I'm able to make sense of a lot of the things going on around me.
So metaphysics, break that down as far as, like, if you could simplify what that is and what that means to somebody who may not know.
Kind of like the study of energy and vibration and how that relates to the mind. And how
Is that like the law of attraction type stuff?
Law of attraction, yes, but like this understanding, like that there's the easiest way I can describe it is like when you like watch fish in a pond.
Okay.
You can see like the stuff that's in between each fish. There's like, you know, little microorganisms in between them. Like you can kind of see their environment. We live in the same environment, but we can't see what's in between one another. And it is energy fields.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's energy fields. Like we can't see it, but like when someone walks into a room with a certain energy, you feel it. Because they're carrying that in there. They're bringing that in there. Like when someone's real happy and walks into a room, you feel it. When someone had a bad day, you feel it. So we're carrying this energy, and like metaphysics and quantum physics and all that esoteric stuff, to me, all it's about is just understanding that you have the power to manipulate your energy as long as you're consciously putting it in the right places. And that's going to create an energy field around you that's going to attract the right people, places, and things for you to continue to expand upon that kingdom that you're trying to build here on earth, or continue to be that person that you need to be here on earth.
Right. Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
And, okay, like with all that being said, I'm vegan, and I'm into the energy, I'm into the spirituality, and I need to get more physical. That's like my thing that I lack in. But for you, like how's it been going, especially during the pandemic, as far as like to stay healthy?
Right.
Because like my biggest thing is like, at least I gotta put the right thing in me. You know what I mean? Even if I don't for like a week. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think during this time, obviously, you know, getting up and moving around and staying physical is important. But one thing that I saw that I had a little bit of, I don't like to judge what other people are doing or whatever, but it's like really, really hard workouts during a pandemic, because really hard workouts breaks down your immune system. And so it's like understanding, like, because your body has to spend so much energy towards repairing your muscles and stuff that it takes from your immunity. And so just intelligently going through working out, because some people are working out harder or working out twice a day or 3 times a day during the pandemic, which is insane. Dang. You know, you're breaking down your immune system. Like it's a thing. Like I remember being in college, and that first week of conditioning, everybody got the sniffles because our immune system are low. We're like, because our bodies is like shocked from all the running and weightlifting that it's starting to break down a little bit. So it's the same thing there. So it's like the physical stuff, I mean, walks, like go out in nature and walk and, you know, do different things like that. You know, low to moderate weightlifting and calisthenics and things like that. But the biggest part is just making sure that you eat to support the immune system. That's one thing that hasn't been talked about. There's like a lot of talk about masks and all that stuff to try to prevent it. But like, what about the actual things that you can consume to boost immunity and all the antioxidants and all that good stuff? So that's like not really been talked about. But you know, what you put into your body orally is very important, but also what you put into your body mentally during a pandemic is very important too, because too much news, too much talks with other people about what's really going on. For me, I went down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, and too much of that's not good for the soul either. Like I had to step out. I was like, man, like this is changing my perceived reality from what I expose my mental state to. Yeah. And it's like, well, don't you want to be informed? Yes, but no. Like, yes, but no.
Same thing.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can know too much to where it starts to mess you up a little bit.
Like, I get the awareness, but man, it's out of my control. Please don't stress. I will stress. So I have 4 daughters, so I have enough. You know what I mean? To really in my brain and just, you know, protecting and all. So it's like, man, listen, I can only deal with so much, and I really try to stay away from that. I hate when people even post certain stuff. I'm like, why did you ruin my day? Like,
right.
It's horrible, but we can't keep feeding ourselves, especially when, okay, you're going to post it, but then that's all you're going to do.
Right.
That did not
and a lot of those people that are doing that, their life's mission is to be, once one of those things comes true, is be like, I'm right. That's it. That's all they want.
And
it's not like but for me, it's like the next level after understanding the conspiracy and all that kind of stuff is immediately going back into self and making sure that you are deliberately seeking divinity and everything, because you've gone down a rabbit hole where you've seen the darkest of the dark. And like the Bible even says, focus on things that are pure, focus on things that are praiseworthy, focus on things that are just. But like, you just went down to the darkest of the dark. So you need to like get back out of that, make sure that you are now that you've seen that, it's like, whoa, let me only look at this.
Right.
Like I had to watch the Disney Channel for at least 3 days straight after stuff, bro.
Listen, I'm a whole child.
Let me get an episode of Hey Jesse or something, man. Like something.
It's like Charlemagne the God says a lot of times. He says some of y'all are so woke that you need some sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is what he's talking about. Like the stuff that y'all are referring to right now.
That's for sure. Like, Lee.
Did you know anybody personally that dealt with COVID?
I got it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it myself. So
have. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I don't care how we done dealt with it. I pretty much think we've all experienced it some type of way.
Yeah.
But your experience.
I felt the energy change. Do y'all want me to use this now on the podcast?
No, you okay.
Does this make you feel better?
No, you okay. You okay.
And you see the brand on there, though, boy. You know, I had to.
I like that.
That's great.
But if your ass fall out trying to wear your mask right now, we ain't got nothing to do with it, okay?
So we had Co-Play Too Much on here. And, you know, Co-Play Too Much had like the Cortez Ernst, or he had the Co-Play Too Much mask, and it was like, yeah, that's great marketing. Have your merchandising for everyone that's a fan of your comedy, because he had spoke on contracting it as well. So when you had COVID, what were the symptoms? Like, how did you know that you had it?
So Governor DeSantis, he opened up sports again in Florida, and so I work with a lot of high school athletes, primarily basketball guys. So this is the breeding season for AAU and all these tournaments and all that type of stuff. So one of my athletes is actually one of my favorite kids of all time. That's why I couldn't even like be mad about it. But went to a tournament, first day there wasn't feeling good. Next day felt okay. Came back home, kind of feeling a little bit off. Wasn't really thinking maybe that he might be sick. Came in, did a session with him. Started feeling a little bit of like fatigue or whatever. 2 days later, he hits me up and says that he tested positive for COVID. Up until that point, I had maybe like one symptom. After he told me, all of them came in. I was like, oh, I got this now, man. So yeah, I mean, I had everything. I had a little bit of a light cough, but I had the fever. I had no taste, no smell. I had some like weird, crazy back pain, extreme fatigue, like walking to the refrigerator and back, like I was gassed. Like it was crazy. Yeah, definitely can tell like my breathing was a little bit more labored. But being, in the healthy population of people, like the information you were hearing about it was like, oh, it's only bad for people that are unhealthy. But like I had like 2 or 3 days where I was like, I don't know, man, this is kind of rough here, bro. But it was crazy too, because like during that time, I'm like on my Neville Goddard real hard, trying to heal my body with my mind. And the one thing that I had to stop doing, people were checking up on me, like, how you doing, man? And like, I was keeping it real. I was like, bro, this sucks. Like, I can barely breathe. I was going over all my symptoms, all that type of stuff. And it felt like the more energy I put into that, the sicker I was getting. So I was like, all right, the next person that hits me up and asks me how I'm doing, I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm feeling a little bit better. And then I started feeling better. Like once my fever broke, it seems like all the other symptoms started to go back down. And I took my test and I got a negative test back, and then I returned back to work. But it was a journey. It was definitely like, my dad is like, one of the funniest people ever. So I was just like a lot of other people, like early on, like, oh, this is fake. This isn't real. It's not a real disease. But once I got it, I was like, dang. But he was always like, no, this is real talk, blah, 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 blah. So I hit him up. I told him I got COVID. And I was like, wasn't feeling good. He was like, it's real to you now, huh?
So it seems like you use a lot of what you learned from metaphysics and in the Bible, et cetera, to think your way out of it. What do you say to people who may want to challenge some of the teachings that you have relayed from that and say, what part do you play in thinking yourself into it? Would you say that maybe prior to that, you thought yourself into it, or maybe you could play back certain things that you did 100%, that contributed to 100%.
That? I remember the day, 2 or 3 days before I got it, kind of joking around about COVID and making sure, like, because we had some protocols, like sanitize your hands right when you come in, and we started doing the face mask thing as well in here if you weren't working out. But I remember, like, one kid forgetting to do it or whatever. I was like, bro, sanitize your hand. I don't want your COVID.
Damn.
So, like, and like high school at that time, I'm not sure what the numbers are now because I really don't keep up on it that much. But the high school age population is the one that had it a lot. So, like, I'm looking at them almost as all like potential lepers. Right. And as they walk in, so I'm like, oh, what's your COVID, bro? Blah, blah, blah. And then end up giving it to me. And another thing that I learned through it is, as from a business standpoint, because once I got it, like, I was like, all right, so what do I do now? Like, I don't know necessarily when I contracted it. It's been 2 days. I've been in front of so many different people. Like, how do I relay the information that, I have it? And the people that I was in immediate contact with, I hit up, but in retrospect, I probably should have shut down for a week, put like a blanket statement out, because I felt like I under-communicated during this. And some people were kind of like, I think it caused a little bit of like a rift in some people. But it's like, even though like they weren't in contact with me, they felt obligated to kind of know that I had it. Which is like a weird, like, privacy type thing. Like, it's just weird, I
get what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's like
in retrospect, I feel like overly communicating it and then moving forward from there would be like the best move for me. So I kind of learned a little bit as a business during that time too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but like people are literally treating this as like it's like AIDS, bro. Like once you like, oh, you got COVID, it's like, oh. Right. It's like, bro, I'm all right, bro.
Well,
they've
done such a good job at scaring the living shit out of everybody. So,
right.
I mean, and then not only that, the big of, all the people that are dying from it and all that, but then they've changed our world because of it.
Right.
So we're definitely all like, ugh, you know what I mean? Not so much me, I can't say. I'm probably a little too laxy-daisy about it. But
no, it's real. Hey, it's real. You gotta treat it like it's real.
Really,
it's real.
I don't doubt it at all. Like, to be honest with you, me and my children have all gone back and forth since it's happened with certain kind of symptoms and stuff. Mm-hmm. Not anything major, where it's entitled any of us out. But I just felt like, man, at the end of the day, I think we've all we've all had that. I don't care how we dealt with it. I think we all pretty much have experienced it.
Right. So that's why, yeah. So it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, because I know I gave it to one of my clients and it was just like the guilt, bro. Like, I was like, dang, I gave them COVID, dog. Man. But like, if it was the flu or like a bug, I wouldn't have felt bad about it. It was like, oh, people get sick. People get sick every day, B. Like, you good?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I gave him COVID. I was like, dang, I gave him COVID, dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm an empath too, so I'm like, dang, I got them sick.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Their health is suffering because of me. Like,
but I've never even heard anybody else admit that they're empaths besides myself. When I
feel it. Empath, you feel energy more. Like you're more sensitive to energy.
So sensitive.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Like I even feel it. Like the mom, I had to like told her that it was a possibility that I gave her kid COVID. Like she felt a little certain way about me. I felt the energy, and I'm like, dang, I really am sorry, but like also not sorry at the same time because I didn't know I had it. Like, it wasn't like I deliberately exposed them to it. Like,
energy without anything being said.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to hear you say anything. We know exactly what you feel.
Oh
like,
yeah. But I have one of my colleagues. She's really been pushing me towards the like not guilty side of things. I've had to I reach out deliberately to her to like. I was like, I feel bad about this. She's like, there's nothing you can do. Like, you didn't know you had it. Like,
this is definitely
right.
It's real hard to avoid it anyways. I mean, I tell everybody, Walmart's the most dangerous place in America right now.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you can say what you want to say about a barbershop. Walmart is definitely it. You know what I mean? You're scared of. So it's right now we're just gonna go through it like we go through everything else.
Do you feel, only because you said you felt like it's like age, we've heard a lot of people allude to they felt like that's something that was administered in a way. Some people have felt that,
Administered meaning like deliberately.
I can't say I've researched that enough to even say how I feel about any of that. But as far as COVID, are there any personal theories you have in reference to that?
I mean, I got my theories, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, bro. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, bro.
I'm with you.
It's a fire.
I'm trying to keep this.
Yeah.
But like that, you could theorize a lot of things. You could theorize it's man-made so that, the person that created it can create a vaccine to become a billionaire. You can say that there's a secret group of people trying to control the population, but like whatever. But like for me, it's like I'm trying to keep my mind away from all that stuff.
I'm with you. I have a new mantra that I go by. I feel like, just like with me, I tell people I'm more spiritual than religious, because I can't say if somebody doesn't believe in exactly what I believe in that, whatever they feel is for them when they leave this world is not going to be there for them,
Right.
So the way I refer to a religion, I say it's all true, right? Whatever you believe in. And I'm starting to feel that way when it comes to something like COVID, something like AIDS, something like anything. It's all true. Whatever you feel, whatever you manifested is true because that's what you have felt and that's what you have manifested, So it puts me more at peace, when someone sees something from a different perspective than me. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So it's just kind of like, hey, that is your truth.
Yeah.
Right.
And I ain't knocking you about it. That's what's up. Like,
Because I feel like if you try to talk me out of my truth, you're not going to get anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Because if I feel a certain way, there's certain things I'm open to hearing, alternate, ways somebody looking at, and certain things I'm not, So
Right. Not for sure.
So you said a colleague of yours, share that. Is that because we didn't really hear it to me? I mean, you mentioned mentors, but like that colleague that spoke to you said, don't feel as guilty. Like who is that person for Tuck that helps
Her
you?
name is Janelle Mayers, and she's actually like almost like the female version of me. She lives in Barbados, but she owns a gym. She's big into mental health, big into like meditation and cognitive training and all that stuff. But she just has, for me in my life, where I've created some narratives about things and I'll like go talk to them about her. She's been a good person that has not just jumped on the bandwagon and agreed with me on some things. She's definitely challenged some of my views and opened my mind to different ways about thinking about things and viewing the world. Yeah, so when I'm feeling away, I feel like she's a good source to go to because she's not necessarily going to agree with me or disagree with me. She's going to give me, give it from a place of just like neutrality because she's used to dealing with like mental health patients and stuff like that. So I feel like when we do talk about things like that, she treats me as such and gives me good information, good insight.
Right.
Yeah. But shout out to Janelle Mayers. I'll give y'all her contact information. Okay. And she'd be a great person to probably have on the show, man. She's an amazing soul.
Who else do you partner with as far as the compound, or is everything in-house as far as all the services you provide there?
So we've consulted with some different businesses and different things like that. Another good colleague, but also buddy of mine, Nick Davenport. Okay. He's the leader in the cognitive conditioning realm right now. And we kind of linked up. We were kind of fanboying each other a little bit on Facebook or on Instagram, and then found out that we didn't live too far away from each other and started linking up and just having real good conversations about like the cognitive conditioning industry and the brain training industry as it relates to like sports and life and tactical stuff. So genius brain he has. Like he's super smart. So it's like always good to have those people that are kind of a 1+ up on you, because it helps you with your growth. Like you never want to be the smartest person in your friend group.
Yeah, my pops used to tell me that when I was younger.
Yeah, my brother taught me that a long time.
Yeah. You're smart. If you're smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Oh yeah, man. And I think for a lot of like, especially African American males, sometimes our pride will not allow us to have the presence of another kind of alpha male or another intellectual mind in your life, just because you feel like you got to kind of be like the know-it-all. But one of the big things COVID's taught me, and this is what we're going to, is just collaboration and just hitting people up, man, to see like what the vibe is, if there's any kind of, way that you can bridge a friendship business-wise or just personally. Has been great. Like you're just kind of linking up with like-minded people, and it just becomes more, I hate using the word leverage, but just more energy that you can put towards growing yourself. It's when you have those people around you.
Okay.
So you have a book called Beast Thinking.
Yes.
Can you break down to us and everybody like what people can actually get out of this book?
Yeah. So me and my co-author Chris McCain, shout out to Chris McCain, we came together on this because we both were consuming a lot of books in the self-help realm and the sports performance realm and the kind of cognitive science realm, and we would have amazing conversations about it. And he has 2 kids. I hadn't had my son at the time the project started, but he had 2 kids that were both very interested in becoming really good basketball players. And so he was like really wanting to get to a place where we can kind of, take the information and really break it down to the level of like a middle school or teenage athlete, so they can understand, the brain versus the mind, what meditation is, the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, understanding what cognitive conditioning is and different things like that. So all the books we would read were super long, super high level. So what we started to do was just kind of say, hey, let's write a book, but like let's make each chapter about an important facet of understanding mindset for geared towards a teenage athlete. And we collabed. It was about a 2.5-year project, and the book came out right before COVID hit. I think we're up to like 1,600 copies sold right now. So we're starting to gain a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
What gets in the way of Beast Thinking? Like just in general, as far as life, like what would you say are the most common temptations that kind of distract us away from getting into that mindset?
I think so. What we start out with is just goal setting. So I think when your goals aren't meaningful or your goals become too finite, I think it allows for you to give attention to a lot of your distractions. But I always tell my athletes, I say, setting meaningful goals distracts you from your distractions.
Setting meaningful goals distracts you
from your distractions. You know what it is to be locked in. During your transformation body-wise, some things that were once tasteful became distasteful because you were so locked in on your goal. Okay. And that's what happens. Like once you find that one thing that really motivates you and pushes you to go to that level, you see that light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. That's when that's the analogy we use in our seminars. It's like it's the light at the end of the tunnel. So we have a picture of a light in a tunnel, and so you have the light, but everything else is dark. I was like, that darkness represents the things that used to distract you, but you can't see them anymore. You can just see the light.
So so what do you say to some people that feel like what they be deemed as a distraction is what carries them through? You know what I'm saying? Like you have some people who, with entertainment, a lot of us are drawn to in film and music, sex, money, and drugs, right? Because it stimulates us. What about people that, say, well, hey, sex, money, and drugs is something that just kind of carried them through, some of those hard times. How do you How do you get that person to understand that that is a distraction if it's something that has kept them afloat when they were ready to just end it sometimes?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily argue with them on that. Like, I think from a creative standpoint, if that's what the context of your music is about, you have to put yourself in those environments to continue to generate that creativity to talk about it. You know, so if that, but they're choosing to make music based on that. Now, if I were trying to make gospel music and I wanted to be around drugs, sex, and violence, that wouldn't make any sense because that's not the environment that's going to give me the creativity to write gospel music.
Right.
Well, I was
Like,
speaking from a standpoint of the
right
common
on,
man,
like,
right?
What gives them the narrative to do it is like, but that's at the end of the day, though, to me, it's like, what impact are you leaving on the world?
Well,
Like,
I'm with you. Right. I was speaking on the common man because even the famous rapper was once a common man before becoming famous, and a lot of times a lot of judgment is passed on them about their content, and they say, "Hey, look, you may know me as being famous, but I'm just a regular person. In the environment that I came from, sex, money, and drugs, that's what carried me through." You know, a lot of these kids right now, they're looking up to some of these artists who are using that as an outlet. But even before these artists became famous, that is something that they use to get through those dark times, even before
100%.
Before it being on that stage as far as being known as a musician that's putting that out there. But I'm wondering, when you say y'all are speaking to the kids nowadays, the kids that are, you know, that have a sex life, a very active sex life, you know, that they're using drugs a lot because that's what's helping them cope with everything that's going on right now. How do y'all get them to see that and know that, hey, this is a distraction. This may feel good to you, but it's bad for you? I'm wondering, how does that talk go?
Right. So basically, I just talk about energy. So like in physics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only can be reallocated. Okay. And I tell them, I was like, if this is, and this what goes back to your goals, right? Like if this is your goal, but you had energy going out towards these other things, it's going to be harder to achieve that goal because you're not going to be able to put enough energy into it. And sex is energy. Eating bad foods is energy. Like if you're not allocating your energy towards that, you can't expect to get to where you want to get to in any form or fashion.
Yes.
So like, what are you doing mentally to put energy into that thing that you want to become?
I see what you're saying. That makes sense.
You know?
Right,
so it's like, if your goal is to do what's in those rap songs, well, put your energy towards that. But that is not going to mean you're successful. I know people that got money, cars, clothes, a bunch of women that aren't successful and don't even see themselves as successful.
Right.
All they've done is attracted to what they've seen in the songs, and they're not happy. They're not spiritually fulfilled. They attracted all this material stuff.
Right.
None of it feeling the soul.
Okay.
And actually some of them losing their soul in the process of doing some of this stuff, doing some things that are completely not in alignment with what their soul wants them to do to achieve these things.
Social currency.
But the narrative that I want to push is the narrative that's pushed in the Bible. It's seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, and everything else will be added onto you.
Say that again.
Meaning that seek ye first. I don't know what scripture it comes from. I'm not like, I can't tell you like first Psalms chapter, but it's a scripture in the Bible. It says, seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. So pretty much saying to the person that wants the fame and the money is that seek ye first the kingdom, and then the fame and the money will be added into you.
Thank you.
Like everything else that kind of like the flesh desires will be added into you. Also, it'll be added into you harmoniously so that you can still keep your eye on the kingdom. That mate that you attract is not going to take your eye off the 8 ball. You know, your financial situation is not going to get your ego to a place that takes your eye off the 8 ball. Like everything else is going to be added into you harmoniously so that you can continue to build that kingdom. And you continue to be righteous and think righteous towards that kingdom.
Right.
That's what's up.
That's where the rise and fall happens, right? It's that you have someone that's in tune with what they want to do. They're thinking about it, they're feeling it, and they're speaking about it, and they get it. But once they get it, sometimes if they can't stay focused on the kingdom, the things that they will attract will become distractions.
Right.
That's why you always have to seek ye first, right? So like you've done this, now you've got the money, but now your focus is on the money. You're not focused on the kingdom anymore, and that's when the kingdom starts to go back down.
Wow.
As long as you keep the focus on the kingdom and its righteousness, things will be added unto you seamlessly, so you can continue to build the kingdom.
Right. And you be concentrated on that, because those things are going to just naturally, you won't have to work for those.
That's
right.
deep. That's deep.
You only got to work for the kingdom. So everything else is going to come in. And if it ain't coming like that, it's because the kingdom isn't being built right.
That's right.
Energy's not being there. Yeah. I totally get that. And
that's why that's so deep, man. That's why I think I love my woman as much as I do, because it's something as small as today when we were speaking on tasks she has to handle, and I'm like, well, if you want to complete all this stuff by 2, you better put it out there that you'll be done with everything by 2. She goes, no, I'm just gonna put it out there that I get everything done that I need to get done today. I don't need to be specific as far as the time that I'll be back from my shopping or whatever, getting in and out. She's like, everything that I need to handle will be handled. You know what I'm saying? Like, not the first baton, the last baton of the race. Is like, that's her mind works. You know, so I get what you're saying.
Because when we think in too much specifics now, that's ego.
Right.
That's ego. You're not allowing it. You're not putting it out to the infinite for it to happen in the way that God wants it to happen.
Right. Well,
it's like, oh, I got to have this by this. It's like, that's not the way it works. You have no say in this game, sir. You can put the intention out there, but how it actually happens and manifests, that's up to our higher power. That's what we have to rely on. Like, that's why sometimes hard work is too much of a hard work can be a sign of the ego, being too much in the ego, because you're saying, if I don't do this right now, I won't have this in the future. You're creating that narrative where you could be, from a spiritual standpoint, an alignment and get those things without doing this work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because you allowed it to flow.
That is a whole nother level. That right there. I think that had to have gone over a few people, because I know, man, listen. Okay, say it one more time.
I don't know how I say
it. No, you were saying, you were pretty much saying, like, it's like that hard work. You were speaking on how hard work sometimes can block it.
That last part, though. Like, go ahead.
So here's another way to view it. I would say like 2 to 3 hours.
I got it.
Working 2 to 3 hours working on the internal world is equivalent to 16 hours in the physical world. And so if you work inversely from that, and you're working 16 hours every single day, where you could be working 2 to 3 hours, we're both going to get to the same spot. Possibly, but I put less physical work in because I attracted mine from a spiritual standpoint.
That's crazy.
Wow.
We're in the same spot, but we look at like hours put in, like my actual physical hours might be less than yours because I spent more time in the spiritual world. But and that's not to say though that spending time in the spiritual world is easy.
No, it's not.
That looks, it can get ugly sometimes.
Man,
like facing yourself could be ugly sometimes, but it's all work at the end of the day.
Right.
But the working on the self is so much more powerful than working on the outer side.
Right.
That's crazy. People like Diaz. That's one person in my life. I've always wondered. I'm like, man, he's someone that never looks like he's breaking a sweat, but he's getting so much done. My god sister Marilyn, she's another person that, you know, when I converse with her, it's like, man. It's like she speaks like that as well. Like, it comes easy. You know, people who are very in tune. You know, everything that you're saying, it seems like that's what these certain people are applying in their lives. You know, whether I even have realized it or not. But the way you broke that down, you know, that seems to be what they're doing.
Absolutely. It's staying in alignment, and then the spirit guides you then. You know what I'm saying? Right. The ego drops, and now literally you're like walking hand in hand with God doing everything. But the ego, once the ego haps in, you're like slapping God's hand down, being like, nah, let me handle this by myself right here. And he's like, all right, go ahead, dumbass. Like, I'm gonna pick you up when you fall, because as soon as you fall, you're gonna be like, oh, I need to be back connection with my source. I'm gonna pick you back up again, and then let's try to hold my hand a little bit longer this time, so I can really get you there a little bit faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's deep. You dropped the word on us today. We appreciate this.
Man,
I appreciate the opportunity, man. You guys pull it out of me, and I get to kind of tap into source. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me talking to you guys. It's the divinity.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for, oh my God, your knowledge, your wisdom. I'm curious on when your next book is out, so we can go over all that. Everything we just went over all in one. Like, you need to like really do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What is next for Tuck Taylor?
I really don't. You know, I'm kind of. I have an intention, but I'm kind of. My goal has been dropping the ego and attaching to the divinity to show me. And so I guess my next, what's next for me is really deepening my relationship with myself and seeing where that wants to take me.
Wow.
Yeah.
The perfect answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, one thing we do here at Pretty Lies and Ugly Truths is, we are all a reflection of the 5 people, who are around us the most. We're some of those 5 people, that we're around the most. Who is it that, you are around and you communicate with the most that you want to shout out? Give us 5 names that play a part in what we see. These are 5 people that you're communicating with on a regular basis to be who you are. So
like some are close friends, but some people are in the digital world, like I think when we say that quote, you are the sum total of the 5 people you're around the most.
Okay.
I think people are like, that means physical, but like when you're
it could be someone that you text
with someone too, like they're in your circle as well. And that person can be dead or alive. Mm-hmm. Like if I listen to a bunch of Neville Goddard, like it's just like if I was in that auditorium with him while he was speaking, like his energy's still passing. So with that being said, I have a couple of good friends. My buddy, first off the bat, is Trevor Bing. Okay. Just friend I've had through hooping and just, being in the same area. Seems like that we're always knowledge seekers. So like being able to pass on really good books and have really deep conversations about ourselves, and also have he's a great person for me, and I think I'm this person in his life as well, is to be like honest with ourselves with someone that's not going to judge you about it, and like being able to admit like how stupid you were at one point and being like, I have a better understanding of this now. So like he plays that role. Like we're always tossing books back and forth to each other. Another person is my barber. His name is Q Collins. His real name is Cornelius. I'm putting it out there, buddy, because it's an inside joke we have. But Cornelius Collins is also another person, another Black business owner. It seems like in whatever we're going through at that time, it's kind of like we mirror each other. Like when we're up, we're both up. When we're down, we're both down. When we're neutral, we're both neutral. So it's almost like being able to have a reflection kind of talk back to you, but also offer some insight that you might not have thought about before. So he plays that role. And for a lot of people I know, their barber, their hairstylist is like kind of that therapist in a sense in their lives. So him, and then I would say anybody else, it's really it really comes from the digital world. So like Neville Goddard, and I'm real big on a book called Sermon on the Mount right now by Emmett Fox. And these are all like old dead white guys, So like, but I put them in my circle because you can hear their energy, and I also feel like sometimes when like there's a decision made, I can kind of hear what Neville Goddard would say in the situation, or hear what Emmett Fox would say. So that's 4. 5. I don't know, man. I don't know if there's a 5th. Don't put restraints on me, man, on having to have 5.
You don't have to have 5.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, hey, some people don't have 5.
Listen, seriously, you got 2. That's your circle. That's your,
Yeah.
We had a guest that told us, sometimes the smaller the circle, the easier it is for you to maintain, because the least amount of people that you have to check in with.
I say Janelle. Janelle would be my 5th. I brought it up earlier. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's your 5.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. And we wish you continued blessings. Thank you for blessing us today. As far as where people can find information about the compound online, if you want to shout out, some hashtag or not hashtag, some @ signs real quick that they need to go to, or social media?
Yeah, so you guys can find the gym. It's at beastathletics.com, or not at beastathletics.com, www.beastathletics.com.
Okay.
My personal Instagram handle is at @TheRealTuckTaylor. I also have a page for my cognitive conditioning company, NeuroBeast. That's at NeuroBeast. The gym, we already said the gym. Oh, the gym's Instagram is beast_athletics_. I'm bad at this part. I don't know what else I have. Oh, the book. It's at Beast Thinking. It's a lot of different tags and websites. You can find the book on Amazon as well. So if you go to Amazon.
Physical and audio, or just physical right now?
Just physical right now. I need to put the audio out because I know that's how I retain a lot of information. So I want to kind of service that community as well. But yeah, man, that's all that. I want to give just a shout out to you guys, man, for having a show and having a platform for people like myself to ramble on and get some of this information from out of my brain onto you guys and to all the listeners and everybody. Alex, I want to also just say I'm proud of you and what you've done with your life, and you know, you're homegrown. You're from the same area right here, and then you know, with our relationship, just being able to watch you grow and do the things that you're doing now. Like, I like you. I definitely like you in this setting right here, this scene right here. Like, appreciate it. Looks good. And also to your co-host, I appreciate your energy as well. I think you guys make a very good duo on this. Like, I like that. It's a good flow. I see success out of this, man. You just got to get the right people on.
Manifestation. We spoke of a lot of this stuff in the past. Manifestation. You know, it's
absolutely
starting to the dots are starting to connect and come together. So grateful for you. Your fingerprints on the mold of whatever I become. So, you know, whenever you see me go somewhere, you can say, "Hey, I invested in that." You know what I'm saying?
I brag about you all the time, man. I brag about you all the time, man.
Appreciate it.
You're part of like my sales pitch sometimes. Like, yeah, man, I had this kid I was working with now in Atlanta doing his thing. Like,
that's what's up. Appreciate it.
So pretty.